A father swallowed his own children whole, alive, one after another, the moment they were born, not out of madness, out of fear, because a prophecy told him one of them would destroy him, before Zeus, before Olympus, before any of the gods we usually talk about. There was Kronos, a titan who ruled the entire universe by overthrowing his own father in an act of brutal violence, and who spent the rest of his reign so terrified of losing power that he committed the same act, over and over, against his own children. This is one of the darkest, most violent stories in Greek mythology, and almost none of it is softened in the original sources. Today we're going through it in full. The castration, the swallowing, the war that ended it all. Kronos' story begins with his father, Uranus, the primordial sky god, a tyrant who despised his own children. Uranus and Gaia, the earth, had many offspring together, but Uranus found them monstrous, and rather than let them live freely, he forced them back inside Gaia's body, trapping them, crushing her under the constant weight of his own children. Gaia, in agony, decided her sons had to act. She forged a massive sickle out of hardened stone and asked her children to strike Uranus down. Only one of them was willing, Kronos, the youngest and most ambitious of the Titans. That night, as Uranus descended to lie with Gaia, Kronos ambushed him in the dark. He seized his father, and with a single brutal stroke of the sickle, castrated him, cutting away the very organ of his power, and threw the remains into the sea. Uranus, mutilated and defeated, withdrew from the world entirely, and Kronos took his place as ruler of the cosmos. But as Uranus fell, bleeding, he cursed his son with a prophecy. One day, one of Kronos' own children would do to him exactly what he had just done to his father. Kronos had won the throne through an act of horrifying violence, and from the very first moment he sat on it, he was already afraid of losing it the same way. Kronos married his sister, Rhea, and together they had child after child, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and each time Rhea gave birth, Kronos did something almost unthinkable. He took the newborn from her arms and swallowed it whole, alive, not killed first, not painlessly. The myths describe it exactly as it sounds, Kronos consuming his own children, one at a time, the instant they were born, trapping them alive inside his own body, where he believed they could never grow up to fulfill the prophecy and overthrow him. Rhea watched this happen again, and again, and again. 5 times, she gave birth, and 5 times, her husband devoured the child in front of her. There was no ceremony to it, no hesitation, just a father, consumed entirely by fear, destroying his own family piece by piece to protect a throne he'd taken through violence in the first place. By the time she was pregnant with her 6th child, Rhea couldn't bear to watch it happen again. When it came time to give birth to her 6th child, Rhea went to Gaia for help, and together they came up with a plan. Rhea gave birth in secret, on the island of Crete, and hid the newborn, a boy she named Zeus, deep in a cave, where he'd be raised away from his father entirely. Then she wrapped a large stone in baby's cloth, and presented it to Kronos as if it were the infant. Kronos, without checking, without hesitation, swallowed the stone whole, believing he had just consumed his 6th child. Exactly like the 5 before it. Zeus grew up in hiding, raised by nymphs and protected by mythical guardians who clashed their weapons together to drown out the sound of his cries. So Kronos would never discover he was still alive. Year after year, the boy who was supposed to have been swallowed grew stronger, preparing, in secret, for the moment he would face his father. When Zeus finally reached adulthood, he returned, and with the help of Metis, a Titaness, he tricked Kronos into drinking a potion that forced him to vomit up everything he'd swallowed over the years. First came the stone. Then, one by one, Zeus's siblings emerged: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, fully grown, having survived the entire time trapped alive inside their own father. What followed was the Titanomachi, a 10-year war between Kronos and the older Titans on one side, and Zeus, his freed siblings, and their allies on the other. This wasn't a small conflict. Ancient sources describe mountains being hurled as weapons, the earth itself shaking apart, a war so violent it threatened to destroy the entire universe before it even properly began. In the end, Zeus and his siblings won. Kronos was overthrown, exactly as the prophecy had promised, defeated by his own child, just as he had once defeated his own father. Different versions of the myth disagree on what happened to him next. Some say he was cast down into Tartarus, the deepest pit of the underworld, imprisoned for eternity alongside the other defeated titans. Others claim he was eventually forgiven, sent instead to rule peacefully over the Isles of the Blessed. Either way, his reign of fear was over. Kronos' name survives today in ways most people don't even notice. The Romans equated him with Saturn, which is where we get the name of the planet, and even the word Saturday, and his myth has inspired some of art's darkest, most disturbing imagery. Most famously Francisco Goya's painting of a wild-eyed Kronos devouring his own child, a piece still considered one of the most horrifying images in Western art centuries later. Kronos didn't fall because he was weak. He fell because the same violence he used to take power ended up consuming him from the inside. A father so afraid of his children that he destroyed his own family trying to stop a prophecy that came true anyway, exactly because of what he did to try to prevent it. If this myth was darker than you expected, follow the channel. Every week we dig up the part of the story history left out.